Thanks for staying with us. The world celebrates World Hearing Day every 3rd of March, which is Wednesday. But today being our Healthy Tuesday, we will be setting the tone for the day to raise awareness on how to prevent deafness, hearing loss, and promote hear and hearing care across the world. In a bid to raise awareness for the our child and adults affected by hearing loss as well. So joining us on the show today is Dr. Simeon Afolabi, BSc Hearing and Speech Center, Cochlear's local authority distributor. Would like to hear what exactly, sir, what message would you want to push? What's the theme for this year for your organization concerning hearing and the challenges of hearing? Good morning.
So the World Hearing Day tries to look at the issues of hearing loss and the impact of hearing loss on individuals, including children. And this year, the theme for World Hearing Day is screen, investigate, and rehabilitate. And they want to lay emphasis. We have been asked to lay emphasis on the issues of screening for hearing loss, even for children that are likely to be born with hearing loss, and for adults that may likely acquiring hearing loss as a grower, and not just to screen, but to actually step forward to rehabilitate those who are having hearing loss. And there are a lot of ways we can look at rehabilitation of individuals with hearing loss. So that's the emphasis it's been laid on issues of hearing loss this year by the WHO.
Okay, sir, you mentioned screening, and I'm wondering, that's the first time I'm hearing screening for, for hearing. Here in Africa, or will I say Nigeria, or in Lagos, growing up, I never thought we thought we could deal with our ears ourselves. We do everything that we think it needs to be done. How often should you have your ear screened? And why is it important to do a screening periodically?
All right. Let me try to start with children, because when children, especially when they do have hearing loss, they will not know. Adults may not really know in time that this child is having hearing loss. Every children born is required to have a screening just to check whether the hearing is okay. And for some children, there are some issues that happens to them at birth that put them on the likely list of individuals that will have hearing loss. Think for a second born who has jaundice at birth, measles, or that the mother has prolonged labor before delivery. This group of children, they are on danger list, and there's possibility that they may sustain hearing loss. So instead of just leaving them, it's good enough to just screen them that the hearing is okay, and they can grow normally, acquire speech normally, and develop speech, and then have a normal education. If these children are left unattended or unchecked, there is possibility that they could have hearing loss. And if hearing loss is present, then as they grow up, there's a milestone they need to acquire. So they will not be able to acquire this milestone, like learning to speak, which is the most important thing. They will not be able to acquire it in time.
Dr. Afolabi, there's a new lifestyle we have had to adopt since the pandemic, which is online schooling. And our children are schooled and they're using their computers, and some of them have to use their headphones. And it worries me sometimes how this may affect their hearing in the long run. Is this a valid concern?
Are you still there, Dr. Simeon? Oh, I think that
We lost him.
I think we've lost him, or we're having technical issues. Oh, we're not doctors, but I think that the issue you just raised is a very valid one, in that I never thought of it. And we all know that on a normal day, when a child can't hear, it will keep increasing the volume. And even most devices have like volume checks. But if you can't hear, you keep increasing, which means when the volume now goes high, it could just go straight into your eardrums. And I think parents should take note if your children are having to use their...
My children,
when I'm going to
high.
I notice my children leave the TV too loud. Coming to the house, if I get home, if they get home before me, I can hardly call someone that they'll hear. They watch the TV always too loud. It worries me, so I'm always concerned about, why they would do that. I don't take my phones in the house. Once I'm in the house, I don't take my phones close to my head, and I don't take it on. I don't use the headphones. I put my phones on all calls on speaker, whoever, no matter who is there with me. Except I notice that I have to now switch it immediately, depending on who I'm talking to, just to give them that consciousness to stay away from putting things so close to their ears. Because
what I wanted to ask, young kids that have ear problem, they don't learn to speak. So by the time they become adults, they can't speak because they couldn't hear speech, And I wonder if you lose your hearing, the older you get, will you forget how to talk?
As well. Oh yeah, that would be something we want to
ask him.
Yeah, and then I know that some people get the cochlear system that they put into people's ears that help them sort of like correct.
Those are ear devices, what they call them?
Hearing aids.
Hearing aids, thank you.
Yes, and many people go years without having access to it, and they could actually have heard because their condition probably was something that system could treat. Would have loved to hear that from
with the cost
of
it.
Yes, where to get it, how accessible.
Whether it's accessible. Because some people might not have heard of it ever. You have kids that are just like 4, they have hearing problems that are solvable, and
and they didn't know.
They didn't know because they didn't go out.
So in essence, the reason for the show, sadly we don't have our special guest who was able to answer all our questions, was for us to set the tone that tomorrow is World Hearing Day. Now, there are two sides to it. Celebrate, we tend to overlook a lot of these things, so be grateful that you can hear and lend hands, help out for those that cannot hear. If anybody is around you that cannot hear, do the research, find out, help them get in touch with doctors. Okay, we have the doctor back now, I think. Okay. Thank you. Did you hear our question? Did you hear our conversation during the technical glitch?
Yes. I can continue from where?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. I was talking about children that may likely might be exposed to issues that expose them to have hearing loss.
Yes.
That they need to be checked, like those children who have measles, who have jaundice at birth, who have measles, who have meningitis, those children during delivery, they have prolonged labor. These are cases that dispose them to having hearing loss. So we should not let them to grow up like that. We need to check their hearing, because unable to do that, we put them at risk of not being able to develop speech normally or have a normal educational life. Then about adults, that as adults we are predisposed to issues that could cause hearing loss too. Build up wax in the ear, this happens naturally to many individuals, and when this build up is to some extent could affect our ability to hear normally.
Sir,
also, we are disposed.
Due to the technical issues, we were almost out of time, and I really want us to provide actionable contacts for steps for people that are listening. So, what would be the right age intermittent to carry out the screening, and where can we get the hearing aids?
Screening should be done immediately the child is born.
Okay.
We call it neonatal hearing screening. Okay. You can do it 24 hours after delivery. And if not done, as just grown up before the age of 1 month, 2 months, the child should be screened, whether the hearing loss is present or not.
Okay.
Now, this can be done mostly in teaching hospital now or in some private center. And so when hearing loss is discovered, we like to know the type of hearing loss, and the type of hearing loss will determine the treatment that the child can be advised to have.
Okay.
So there are some, if it's, we call it, if it's sensory neural, that is beyond the middle ear, then that's when the child will be considered to have hearing aid fittings And if it's a profound one that hearing aid cannot help, then such individual will be advised to go for cochlear implantation. And cochlear implant is a surgical program which incorporates a processor. So the parent will be advised that this is the best way to make the child or the individual to hear better. So these are just the programs for those with hearing loss.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello.
Sir, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there.
We're totally out of time. We're like completely out of time. I really wanted to hear how to get the hearing aids, how affordable it is, those kind of.
Yeah. How to get hearing aid? I said firstly we do a hearing assessment. We know the type of hearing loss the person is having. Now there are degrees that will be disposed to having a hearing aid, and there are some degrees that the option is to go for cochlear implantation. And so once it is within the normal range for hearing aids, so the individual can approach a teaching hospital, private centers, where hearing aids are being dispensed. And then after the test, hearing aid evaluation will be done, and a specific hearing that can help will be prescribed for the person. And if it's a case that is not a question of hearing aid, such as the one that will be advised to go for cochlear implantation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Simeon Afolabi. Thank you for all that you're doing. That's all we can take on the show today. Time spent well, I'm sure. If you missed any part, go watch it online. See you all tomorrow. Bye.